My name is Ashley, and this is Let's Talk Dispatch.
I do. You're gonna do it really well.
And I believe the world needs more dispatchers.
Around in the mud, blood, and beer.
Years that I'm not working 4th of July. 4th of July.
Saying community policing, right? What about community dispatching?
So on this show, with the help of my guests, we will educate, empower, and support the heroes behind the headset.
Right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode here on Let's Talk Dispatch with me, the Raspy Dispatcher. Hope everyone's doing well. You know, we're kind of in the middle of the holiday season. I'm in the middle of a staycation, so I'm definitely enjoying myself. But today's guest has been doing her thing in the game for 18 years, dispatching in Atlanta, and I can't wait for you guys to meet them virtually, audibly. This is a Gudrun, and here we go. Hello.
Hey, Ashley, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. So are you working today? Is it your work week? What's up?
Oh my goodness, it is my Friday.
It's
my Friday. No, I'm so lying to you. Today is my Sunday. My bad. Today is my Sunday.
Woo!
My Sunday. I hadn't had my nap yet. I need my nap.
I hear that. Do you work nights or do you work days?
Night shift always.
Oh man, I miss it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I this is the first time I've worked days in the 5 years that I've been doing this.
Okay.
And
do you like it?
It definitely has some benefits as far as like my body is like, oh, this is nice. At 10 o'clock, we're tired, you know, like, and but work-wise, the call types, not like I am night shift all the way in that sense, you know. I think my fiance would prefer for me to stay on days, but
his quality time.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, well, they still like me, so we'll see, you know, as the years go.
I don't mind. I don't mind day shift, but to me, at nighttime, my natural assumption is that everybody is a little off. And on daytime, I feel like everybody's just like real cool and everything. And then the more they talk, I realize they're off. So it's just easier for me if I come in and it's dark or getting dark and I know that everything is going to be just a little off. And if it's a normal call, that's a bonus.
Yeah.
And it's easier for me.
What's that old saying? Nothing good happens after midnight type of thing. So that phone starts ringing, you're like,
I'm already ready. I'm already prepped.
You know, this is going to be something.
I'm already ready.
Yeah. So we do signups every like 4 months.
Okay.
And so when I signed up, I got forced onto days. So for my seniority, you know,
new kid on the block.
Yeah. So I got forced onto days. And then signups came around and I had the option to go back to nights or stay days with weekends off.
Ooh.
And I was like, I mean, I've only been on day shift for 2 weeks. I don't know if I like it or not. I'm gonna have to take the weekends off. So I did stay on days for 2 shift cycles. So I should know by then how I feel about it.
I mean, weekends off is always a bonus. Weekends off is always a bonus.
I haven't had a weekend off in 5 years. I mean, I have like every other Sunday type of thing.
But that's not the weekend. That's Sunday.
It's not the weekend. It does not count.
Getting the Saturday-Sunday combo is definitely a bonus.
Yeah, so that's something to look forward in the new year. I'll be having some weekends off.
Well, enjoy your weekend off, okay? Do that.
Oh, man. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How long you been doing this, you know?
Oh, my gosh.
All the good things.
So I've been in public safety for 20 years. I started August of 2002. I actually worked for the state. I worked for Georgia Department of Transportation, affectionately called GDOT. And I used to be the head dispatcher for the HERO units, which is Highway Emergency Response Operators. Yeah. So I worked there for two and a half years. And it was amazing. The commute was horrible.
Hey, that matters.
was horrible because I live outside of the perimeter, which is a catchphrase for Atlanta. So it means I'm about 30 minutes north of the city. And I was working 3 days a week, 13 and a half hours a day with all the overtime that you could, throw a shoe at. It was awesome. But the commute was horrible. And it was right after Katrina. So not only was the commute horrible, but then my little Honda Accord went from, $1.10 on gas to like $2. Little did we know that we're going to be at $3 something a gallon in Georgia. But back then it was like $1.10, $1.12. And I was just like, this is not working for me.
I don't think it's ever been bad in California.
I'm sure it hasn't. But at one point, unleaded regular gas was like $1.08. And if it went to like $1.30, we were all on strike and we were riding mass transit because gas was more than $1.10, $1.15.
I hear you.
But so I did 2 years there. And it was absolutely amazing. And if ever there was my version of Dispatcher Peace, Dispatcher Heaven, Hero Unit and Traffic Management Center was definitely it. They spoiled me. Because as dispatchers, we don't always get to find out an end result of what we do. And working at GDOT, you have all of these screens with all of your incidents, so you can look at it. You can watch your operator six, like you know what's going on, and they're asking you because you can see more than they can while they're playing leapfrog on the highway. What's going on? What do I need? So you're really a part of the process of problem solving. So it was awesome. And then I left that and became a police dispatcher, which is equally awesome, but I don't have that resolution that I have. And so I'm spoiled because I need to know the end result, whether it's good or bad. I need to know what happened at the end of this call. Yeah. And because we're such a small agency, everybody on my team is on my phone, so I can reach out and be like, hey, when you're not busy, either come by and see me or what happened. Because, what happens on the phone with us and what actually happens with them in real time, they never meet. They very rarely meet. It's never, people are completely different with us. And then the officer gets on the scene and they're very meek and mild and, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you're here. But, with us, why are you asking me all these questions?
Right. Or even if it's like a physical call and you can hear the physical happening, right? You're like, man, like they're really getting beat up. Like what's it gonna look like when they get there? And there's like,
and then it's like
verbal,
a scratch.
Yeah. And it's just like, what?
It's like a scratch, and you're like, because I totally heard pound for pound.
Come listen to the tape, sir. Man,
right?
Like, this is wild. And then like verbal only. You're like, nah, no way.
Like nobody's going to headquarters.
Like, no one's going. No,
nobody's getting the bracelets. What?
And the best is like when they're like, there's blood everywhere, and they get there, they're like, there was like a drop of blood on the ground. You're just like, what?
Ask me about the time I may have notified the on-call investigator and may have called the coroner because there was a lot of blood, but it was superficial bleeding and not from a jugular or something. That may have,
they're all in there like in their quick put on pants, like.
But everybody agrees that there was a lot of blood. It just was not the jugular.
Not call out worthy, Detective like, who called me? You're like, I don't know. They just left.
There was radio traffic where they were like, radio, tell the bus to hurry up because there's blood everywhere. So
oh my gosh, yikes.
He got stabbed 7 times.
Right. But isn't that just so funny? Like how, for folks who are listening who don't do this line of work and they tune into the reality shows and things like that. Human beings are so interesting, right? Like the way we respond in crisis. This is all of us, right?
Yeah.
We respond in crisis, and when we're looking at something and we're being asked to describe it, the things we choose and that we zoom in on, and you're just kind of like,
that's not the important part.
Yeah.
That's not the important part. Like,
I
need a full description. He had on purple shoes. Okay, but what else did he have on? I don't know. He had on purple shoes.
Oh my,
was he tall? Was he short? I don't know. He was average height. Okay, well, what's average height? Because I don't know how tall you are. Like when you say average height, to me, average height is like 5'6". But if you're 6 feet tall, average height is not going to be 5'6". Average height for a 6 foot tall person might be 6 feet. I don't know.
Age? Oh, they're older. What's older?
What's older? And then they say 40. And I'm like, yo, I'm 40. What you mean older?
Getting closer and closer to 40. And I'm just like, the disrespect out here on these calls just.
My pet peeve is average height. When people say average height, because I'm like, I'm 5'3". What is your definition of average height? I don't know how tall, or I hate to say, I have a lot of people from Europe that call, and average height is in centimeters. So here I am on my phone trying to translate 80.
Yeah, no. 80 I have not had that experience yet, and I hope I never do.
Let me tell you, I feel very uneducated when someone describes someone in meters or centimeters and not inches, because I live on the North American continent. Like, dang, man, because I don't want to say, hey,
do it that way. Like,
can you convert that for me, please? But anyway, circling back to your question, I've been dispatching for 18 years. Well, technically 2018. But I've only been with one police department. I absolutely, positively love my agency 6 out of 7 days a week. I work with some really amazing individuals. I work with some truly interesting individuals. But you know what? I don't think I'd want to do it with anybody else. And here recently, in the last 3 years, we used to move through the schedule, and we have 4 teams, and we have like 80 officers on the road. And then we have like maybe 15 in CID and command. But we used to see a different person every 2 days. And then they said, you know what? We're going to assign dispatchers to teams. That's awesome, because I feel like it's more personalized. Like, I know my guys, I try to remember their birthdays, their anniversaries, that kind of stuff. So I can connect with them when they're mad at me and be like, hey, how's your baby? Oh, I saw you got a new puppy on Instagram. How's your puppy? Bring your puppy to see me. But it makes it easier because I'm learning their moods. They're learning my moods. And it's not like you're on your Friday and a team's coming in and it's their Monday and you're run down because you've been there for 3 days, and they're coming in and they're like gusto and they're ready. No. It's your Monday, but it's my Friday.
Yeah,
not everybody is on the same no felony Friday at the same time. So the mindset is, okay, we're not looking for it if it's not finding us. I mean, let's be real. There's some days, you get somebody who's new or really excited, gung ho, and they just want to do everything, and we're like, yo. It's 3 hours from Friday.
Right. or it's 06:05. We've been here 5 minutes. Like, what?
I ain't had coffee yet. Hold on.
You put out 6 stops in 10 minutes. Like, stop it. Like, what are you
doing? Don't anger the dispatch ladies, and don't bring them the treats.
That's hilarious. That is really an interesting way to look at scheduling, because I think historically and more often than not, right, they're pretty separate as far as the scheduling, dispatch, and patrol, right? They sign up separate. I in my experience with my departments, we haven't been too intertwined in the way we're rotating our shifts and things like that. So I can definitely see the benefits of a department coupling the shifts with the dispatchers and being able to, especially the smaller agencies that have more. You probably don't have as much ability to do it in larger agencies with all the different shifts, but the smaller agencies, I can definitely see some benefits in that.
The only problem that I don't love is every 4 months we shift. We've been talking. We're like, hey, can we do it for 6 months? Because it's like as soon as you get acclimated, it's time to flip again. And normally you might have 24 to 48 hours to negotiate that flip. And honestly, flipping from nights to days is harder for me than flipping days to nights.
Yeah, I can do that.
Because I need 2 or 3 days to get my nap schedule back. Other people do things differently. I don't really know how people negotiate, the day before they go back to night shift, they're up all day and they sleep all night and then they sleep all day. But I know people who do that. I can't do that. I have to get up late the day before I go back to night shift. I get up late, then I'm up, then I take like a 3-hour power nap after dinner, So I'll try to go to sleep around 8 o'clock, and then I get up like 10:30, 11 o'clock, and then I stay up all night, and I go to sleep around the time I would be going to sleep my first day back from working night shift. But other people are like, oh no, I sleep the whole night before. And I'm like, how? When I was younger, how? Like I need to sleep during the daylight. But
yeah, no, I mean, I remember when I first started working nights, I couldn't turn my mind off, you know, like
Right.
I'd get home and it, like I literally get home and have a beer, like just so I could, like 6 a.m. is my 6 p.m. folks. So I'm
right.
here
People are judging you like, oh my gosh, you're drinking at 6 o'clock. I've been up all night.
all night long, and so
All night long.
and I'd drink a beer and I'd like watch TV and I would be able to like get sleepy and I go
Right.
to sleep. And then, but now it's like I work nights and I hit the pillow and I'm out. Like all I got to do is lay down and I go to sleep. But it takes that reprogramming to get back into that nightlife. You know, it
I have a threshold on nights. I know I need to be in bed no later than 9:30, 9:45. Because if I push past 9:45, my body's like, oh, we up for the day.
Right? Like
and it won't go to sleep. On night shift, I have to be, or on day shift, I have to be in bed by 10. And if I stay up past 10, then it's like, oh, we on nights? What we doing?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm trying to fall asleep 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, knowing I got to get up at 5:30 to clock in at 6:50. So it's very interesting. But the flipping part, I don't like. I don't know what just happened. Something popped up. Something popped up and I'm like, what is that? The flipping part, I don't like. Sometimes I get lucky and I get to stay on nights, and I also know the opposite team too. So I'm still kind of cool with them. They like it because they're like, oh, we get you and you're sarcastic, and you know, I have a lot of pop culture that I inject into my dispatching. You know, sometimes I get really lucky and I get to say things from like Breakfast Club or something.
Oh my gosh, like give me your, like, if you could slip it in, you slip it in. What is your, I like to message my officers. I like to go on the MDT. I'd be like, you are appreciated. And I put Tupac voice.
I don't do that, but I like
to slip that in there.
Like a couple of years ago, my best pop culture reference moment, and this is definitely going to date me, is I got a disturbance call at an apartment complex. Okay. So I send out an officer who is like just super cool. He's older, super cool. Is one of those people, don't start none, won't be none. He does everything in his power not to arrest you if he doesn't have to. But if you make him, he's going to do the do. So he goes out, and of course it's a 6th floor walk-up apartment, no elevator. And he's like, I got my Fitbit on, we good. So he goes up there, and I do the status check on him. I'm like, hey, you know, are you 10-4? And he goes, radio, I'm 10-4. He's like, it was just bad boys having a party. So it's a Luther Vandross song. So I go, well, all right. Then another officer goes, do-do-do-do-do. And it was like, the whole 2 sentences of the Luther Vandross song before the LT's like, I cut it out. It was like a whole moment where we got to Luther Vandross, and it was like everybody on the team did a part of the song, and it was awesome. And then LT's like, y'all gotta stop because y'all can't be singing on the radio.
Tell me you got that recorded, because that's one for the books.
That is excellent. So far. So many CAD systems ago. That's like 3 CAD systems ago. I wish.
Oh my god.
Because that is one for my retirement blooper reel. But we had the absolute best time singing Luther Vandross.
It's so funny. I mean, we were due, like the way my probation is set up, we still gotta wait before we start wilding out a little bit at this new agency.
You behave, Ashley.
But when I get off that probation, I will probably test it a little bit.
It's on and popping. I'm here for it.
But we were doing word of the day for a little while with the team. And even just like hearing one of the officers like slip in the word to like the dispo of the call, or like, you know, I can't even think of a word right now, but you just start cheering like, oh my god,
yes, you did it. You know? It's kind of like bingo.
I can't even imagine Luther Vandross coming over there. Like,
when I tell you, and the thing was, I did it, but it wasn't intentional. It was truly organic. He was like, bad boys having a party. And I was like, click. Well, all right. And then another guy, there's a guy named Ellis. He's a DJ, and he's like, do. And I'm telling you, I could not have planned it better because every person keyed up at the right time, got their portion of the lyrics in, and then the next person keyed up. It was awesome. Like, Kevin
was like, we about to get fined. Y'all need to stop.
I'm surprised RIAA didn't call us and say, hey, you don't own that song, copyright violation, because it was a good minute and a half, 2 minutes of awesome traffic.
I remember in the academy, like, they would tell us, like, they gave us, like, the admonishment, like, you know, we're on a recorded line, we're on over the air. If you curse, we can get hit with the fines. It was like $10,000 fine for swearing. I was like, look, one day there might be a good reason. I'll be like, just bill me.
There might be a reason for me to drop an F-bomb.
There might be it. You know, they gotta catch it. But I do remember that was one of the things they would like drill it. You could get fined. You can get fined. The FAA or whatever they are. I forget who monitors us, but oh my gosh, so awesome. Funny. Awesome. So how'd you get into public safety? Did you just like stumble into it? Did someone trick you into it? I feel like those are the two options.
Okay, so honestly, I have been dispatching more than I haven't been dispatching. My first job, I was a page at the library, which I loved, but I basically got released because I was always reading books and not shelving books. So I was looking for something that actually had a little, dollar sign behind it. I didn't want to work in fast food. That wasn't for me. I didn't really want to work at the grocery store. And I answered an ad for a tow truck company.
Okay.
And so I started dispatching when I was probably 18 or 19 years old. And I worked for a dispatch company called Export. I don't even know if they exist anymore. They were stationed out of Boston, and they opened a satellite office here. Worked there for a little while. And then I started really focusing on my college. And I was a student athlete, and it wasn't working with my schedule. So I walked away from it. Went back to like a library type job. What's it? Work study when you're a college athlete.
Oh, yeah.
Did a little bit of that. Moved on to the next phase. And then I was like, well, let me go back to dispatching, because back then we used the map books, which people really don't use anymore. But it had the map book. You used to have to plot courses. So I said, let me figure something out. So then I started working for an HVAC company.
Okay. Did
that. And that was cool. But September 11th happened. And I basically kind of got released for somebody in the family who needed a job more than I did, according to them. And so then I phased out, and then I took an internship at the governor's office. And so I was working with a photographer, because my course of study in college was photography, fine arts. So I was doing that internship. And one day, unfortunately, we're being honest, I had a negative experience with a trooper. And I filed a complaint. And while I was in the office filing the complaint, the trooper that took the complaint was very professional, interviewed me, had me sign, my statement, this, that, and the other. And when I got finished, he said, I'm proud of you. And I'm like, why are you proud of me? I don't know you. And I just complained on one of your coworkers. Well, he says, the rumor mill has been rampant about this officer, but nobody wants to say anything because he's a trooper. So your complaint solidifies what we've heard, but no one was willing to say X happened. And he says, you're very articulate. Have you ever thought about? And so I was like, nah, but I'm old enough to have taken the career aptitude test when I was in high school. And my career aptitude test said either military or police. And was like, nah. I'm gonna be downtown Julie Brown. I'm not gonna talk on the radio, but it's gonna be like the radio. It's not gonna be like this. He's like, you're very articulate. I'm just saying you should consider it. We're hiring. And then I saw how much state police make. Nah, I'm good.
Show me around.
But I did see a dispatch position with GDOT. So I applied for that.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. And when the commute and the gas tank started killing me, I started looking for something closer. Found an agency that's like 15 minutes from my house with heavy traffic. Mm-hmm. And I had an amazing FTO. Super amazing. Like FTO ended up in my wedding 8 years later because that's how tight we are. Yeah. And I have been there ever since. And I have unfortunately some check marks that I wish I didn't have in my career for things that I've experienced on duty. But when I tell you that I love what I do and I love the people that I get to do it with 6 out of 7 days a week, that is a factual, valid statement. I mean, there are days when I am tired. We all get tired. We all experience what we experience doing what we do. But my husband tells me that I get to save the world every day. And since I'm a comic book geek and I name my kids after superheroes,
I love that.
My favorite character is Black Canary. Before there was a Birds of Prey movie, my favorite character was Black Canary because her voice is her superpower. My voice is my superpower. I love it. Absolutely, positively. So I'm there for the duration unless they, tell me I'm too old and put me out the pasture.
Well, you're giving me chills here. I'm like writing my notes. Like,
get in it, girl. Get in it. I mean, seriously. Some days I'm like,
and it's really refreshing. And I mean, like, I try to give people like a realistic look into this line of work, and there is a lot of negative out there in the world of dispatch.
Oh, hell yeah.
You go onto these social media pages, and people are just like telling folks to run, and like, yeah, there are agencies that need a little help, and there are, comm centers that have some toxicity in them, and we need to, I think we need to be accountable for what we bring into our comm centers, because it's not always as everybody else, right? Like we bring our energy in there too. So if there's negative in there, what are we doing that's adding or taking away, right?
But the other thing is, I think for me, social media made me realize that it doesn't make sense to run to another agency. The players are different, but it's the same. You got the same things. It's just a different name. You're going to have the Mean Girls crew. You're going to have the salty old dispatcher or dispatcher persons. You're going to have the people that are super IT and are super excited about next gen, 911 and actually getting to see, what's going on when you're having a priority one call. And there's people like me that I'm very sensitive. Like I'm an awesome dispatcher, but I'm very sensitive. I really don't want to see, a priority one call unfold. I don't want someone to call me and I see a whole apartment building on fire and people are tossing their bird cage from the 4th floor because they can't get out the front door. I don't want to see that. I want to help those people, but I don't need to see that because I'm not able to focus on what I need to do. But Instagram really showed me that I'm not alone about the things that frustrate me sometimes. I'm not alone when I think, dang, I got to work with somebody for 12 hours and we don't really mesh because I talk too much and they're not really a talker or they only talk to certain people. Like, you can't run from that. I know that where I am is where I'm supposed to be. So just, keep kicking it. And then I get to meet people like you. I went to my first conference this year, got to meet other dispatchers, got to reconnect with my friends over at GDOT because they were at the JICA conference. And when you talk to other dispatchers in real life, you realize you guys, even though you don't maybe work in the trenches together at the same agency, you got some of the same problems. So it's nice just to connect with somebody who really, really gets what you do. Because you come home to your fiance, I come home to my husband, they listen to us, but they don't really get what we're going through. So when you see like dispatcher shenanigans on Instagram and they're posting stuff and you're cracking up laughing uncontrollably because you're like, yo, I just had that shift, they completely get it. But say how long has Instagram been around? What, a decade maybe?
Probably about
Okay.
that.
So see, you're 5 years in, but I have 18 years in. Think about the access that you have versus the access that I had when I was a fledgling dispatcher. You have access to be able to talk to me, to be able to, talk to Halcyon or talk to Sarah Weston, or you got these other dispatchers you can reach out to. Whereas 10 years ago, I just had the people in my agency and maybe one or two people that I went to the academy with, but when you go to the academy, all of y'all are like super tight and you might stay in touch with like maybe one person. And then it's 20 years later and I'm only in touch with one person from my academy.
Yeah.
So you're like super, in my opinion, I'm jealous of you just because of the access that you have. When you're like, yo, is there am I the only person with a mean girl in my agency? Am I the only one that has a person who every time I'm on call, they call out?
Yeah.
And I got to go in on my off day on short notice. Like, that you don't want to come to work. Why do you wait until 5 o'clock and I've been up all day to call me and tell me you ain't coming to work tonight? Like,
yeah. I think I think you make a really good point as far as like social media and our technology. And I mean, obviously our technology in 911 is advancing, right? And we're constantly getting new things, text 911, rapid deploy, rapid SOS, all these different carbine, like all these different technologies that are coming up and, utilizing the cloud and, we're not all these different things. I guess I never really thought about the social media aspect and the community aspect that I'm sure folks who have been doing this a lot longer have felt, especially since it is now just becoming acknowledged that dispatchers are first responders and they are valid, relevant, needed, all those things to the first responder community. So I couldn't imagine doing this job minus the technology that I've been trained in today, minus the ability to connect with community at the palm of my hand,
right?
The way we have, because I feel like I grew up, Facebook started coming out when I was in high school.
Wow.
So like social media is kind of, computers in general, I kind of grew up with internet starting, and like I'm in that weird generation where we had it, but we don't really have it the way the kids have it now, so I couldn't imagine like doing this job, not being able to connect with people the way, we connect now. And I mean, it has to be a struggle,
Put it to you like this. I have been dispatching so long that when we moved from an Excel spreadsheet to an actual computer aided dispatch, I was like, no, I don't want you. You can't make me. I want a piece of paper. No, I don't trust it. Like, that's how long I've been dispatching. I've moved from paper to Excel to CAD to now we use Zerker, which I love for the most part. It has some things that I would tweak, but for the most part, it works for my agency.
Yeah.
But just like, yo, if you had told me 15 years ago that I'd be on something other than an Excel spreadsheet, I would have laughed at you.
That's wild.
Like, I would laugh at you. And it's like, when I get a new hire, because I'm an FTO or a CTO, sorry, I always give them 3 or 4 sheets and say, you need to keep this, because when we get to a certain point, you're writing. Because if you're writing, I know that you're keeping up with every single detail. And the playback button doesn't exist. So why do we have to write? We have a computer. Because if the computer goes down, what do we do?
Right? I mean, it's just, I couldn't imagine.
Right.
Just like, where's your status? Like, cover the status screen, and you're like, where are your folks? You're just like, well, you covered the status screen. I don't know where they are. Little things like that, because we're just so technology heavy. Like,
I showed someone a map book recently and they were like, what do I need this for?
Yo, those map books, in my first agency in SAC, we are manual mode required the map books. So we have all the map books at all of our stations. And I remember, luckily I have a dad who like showed me how to use a map book, like going on vacation, MapQuest, like they showed me how to read it, like So when they pulled out the map book, I wasn't like blindsided. Like, what is that? I was like, a map book? Like,
But
why?
some people are like,
Yeah.
like, what's this? A doorstop?
Right.
No,
This
that's
is
a
a
door.
phone book.
That's a map book. You're gonna look up the street in the index, and then you're gonna go to the page and you're gonna plot the course. But why? In case the CAD goes down.
Yeah,
You need to know the zone so that you can dispatch in case the computer doesn't work, or we get struck by lightning, or we get a virus. It's hard.
It is. You know, I have successfully avoided manual mode my entire career thus far. It's always like I'm coming in the shift and we're just getting back up, or I'm leaving and we're about to go down, and I'm just like, all right, I'm out. Like, not staying, nope, I don't want to do it. In Zach, we had like a little bell at the station. So if you take a call, you have to hit the bell and someone comes and grabs the card, takes it to the radio side. If you have an update, hit the bell, they'll go run it over there.
Okay.
Such a big
wait a minute. How is your room like split up into call takers and dispatchers?
So at my first agency, we had a radio side and then we had a call taking side, all in the same big room.
Okay.
But the radio stations don't shift, right? The districts were how many channels? We have 4 channels, 4 districts, and then you would sign up in 6-hour slots. Okay. So you'd have a 6-hour radio slot, 6-hour call taking. If you're lucky, you'd only move twice. That was the setup there. Here at my new agency, we're smaller. It's usually minimum 2 in the room. You know, we're not running. We're just muting and yelling. You know, but yeah, in SAC, like I have avoided manual mode. It is not something I would like to do in my career.
Lucky you. 5 years you've avoided manual mode. Thanks.
You're like, don't even worry. I already got my Excel spreadsheet. We got this.
I mean, worst case scenario, piece of paper is my friend. I am the scribble queen. Mm-hmm. And people look at it and they're like, what is this? It's like, that's where everybody is. It's all the calls they did. I mean, it's a brain dump. That's how I work.
Yeah. I hear that.
So yeah, that's how young I am in dispatch.
Oh my gosh. But it's so awesome, right? Like, because it's just so different. Like, I loved learning from like the folks who've been doing it for so long. And then we come out fresh out of the academy and I'm like, well, you could do it this way now. And they're just like, no, we're not doing it like that. You know, like we gonna use this key.
What we're gonna do is when you're free and clear, and I'm not held responsible for how you do things, you do it whichever way you want to do it. But right now that you're with me, this is how we're gonna do it, and that's how I expect you to. Well, but we could
right?
Like, and I feel bad because it's like sometimes during my training I have to take time off because you schedule days off and then somebody quits or somebody gets promoted, then you get a new hire, and then like they have to learn 2 different FTOs because somebody has to come cover your shift and they don't do it the way you do it. And I am not really, I'm pretty organic about a lot of stuff except for training dispatchers.
Yeah.
Because for me, I tell people, get to know the people that you're dispatching. They're not just numbers. There's somebody's significant other. They have a pet, even if it's a turtle or a fish or, somebody is depending on them at 1900, at 0700. So you need to get to know these people. They need to be more than just a number or the one that always sighs before you give them a call if it's not something hot because they don't want to go. You need to make that connection with them so that when you send them to stuff, you're thinking about the end result. The end result is everybody goes home. And that's difficult when I do it. We'll say I do it 95% the way the training manual says to do it. And then there's another trainer who only does it 60% because they've been there 5 years longer than me. And this is how they do it. Because in their mind, I know how to negotiate this. But if you've never dispatched before and you've got 2 different trainers telling you 2 different things, and you're not really sure which way is the best way to negotiate, it gets difficult. But I try to tell people I've never lost anybody. Thank God. I've never lost anybody. I've had some near misses, but I've never lost anybody. And I take that to heart because my mantra is like, love, loathe, despise. My job is to get you to the end of the shift. I don't ever want someone to come to me and ask me what was so-and-so thinking. That's not even, I know it's a possibility, but I want to know at the end of the day, I did everything that I could. And that's hard to relay that sometimes to people who don't realize there's not a reset button. You know, they're not making that connection just yet, that this isn't, Law and Order. This isn't NCIS. This isn't CSI. At the end of the 35 minutes, everybody, goes on to the next episode or, whatever. There are real life and death consequences of the decisions that we make. And I don't think people realize how serious what we do actually is, just from simple things like, you've been doing this 5 years and you're at a new agency, but you've been there long enough that you kind of know the people that you work with, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And their strong points. So like if I get a veteran call, or I get a CIT call, I know who I'm going to send, or I know who I'm not going to send because they had a CIT call, a month or so ago that didn't end well, even though they tried to, everything in their toolbox, the person made the decision that they made and didn't make it. So I'm not going to send that person to another suicide call because that's how my mind works. When I'm making these calls and I'm looking at who it is, sometimes the person in the assigned zone is not the best person for that call. That's how I think. And sometimes I have to, ring up the LT or be like, hey, LT, can you call me real quick? And be like, hey, I'm going to send this person to this call for this reason. They're like, oh, I didn't even think about that. That's a good call. That's just how I think.
Yeah.
And they may feel like I don't love them, but I do because I'm always thinking about them.
And it's true. I mean, like at my first agency, it was so big. I mean, I don't even think my officers knew all the officers. You know what I mean?
Yearbook.
Right? Like they're like, "Ooh, you work there?" Like,
Right.
So there was, I would always say, you have to build your relationships over the MDT, the computer, because you're not going to see these guys, these girls, these officers. They're not going to come to the station. They're not going to know you walking down the street just because the agency's so big.
Right.
So you have to build these relationships, good, bad, in between, like who you talking to, like, are you good? Whatever it is, through that computer at these larger agencies, because you're right, they aren't just a number. We have to have a level of understanding that, our job is to, as you said, get everybody home.
Yeah.
At my agency, we did have an officer, in the line of duty, lose their life. We did have that during my time there. It was the first one in like 20 or 30 years for that agency. And they're tough. Even when you don't have a personal relationship with the officer and you were just dispatching them over the MDT, and you never met them in person because the agency is so big, it still hits home. So now that I'm at a smaller agency and I get to have these relationships with, everybody. I mean, I see my chief like 6-7 times. And
you're like, whoa, wait. Like the first time you see him, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like,
and now it's like, hey, chief, like you always, it's just that kind of agency, which is wonderful, because at my last agency, like I maybe saw my chief one time because they're so inundated,
right.
we're at a distance. And it's just a really nice opportunity as a dispatcher to be able to actually have conversations and relationships and moments with the folks we're dispatching, to know their families, to know their kids, like all these things that I didn't realize I would enjoy so much, when they lateral. I was more like, you go into the call or not? Do I have to raise you because you hit your button? Or like, that's how my relationship was with my officers.
Right.
Wow, it's
you watch
like,
the call not move. You're like, hey, are you clear to go? Yeah, radio. When I get ready to go, I'm gonna go. Oh, okay, because the lady's calling me back, cussing me out because it's been 10 minutes and you hadn't moved yet. Like, what's popping?
Well, now they key up and I'm like, I know their voice. I know, when they key up, I'm like, they're out with someone with a warrant. Like that, this person can smell a warrant.
Right. The magnet.
Right? Like they're putting out a traffic stop. I'm like, I don't even have to look at this return. It's gonna be expired or suspended because that is what they do.
Or you know where they're sitting based on how many traffic stops they're doing. You're like, oh, they're sitting by that stop sign at the Walmart.
Yeah.
Oh, they're sitting by the no U-turn sign over by the Publix. Like, you know where they're, and you're like, oh man, it's 10 minutes into the shift. We're gonna be like this for 3 hours. And then that's when you send that KDT. You're like, yo, there's a quick trip over by where you are. I need a freezy. I need a whatchamacallit. Like, I'm working way too hard.
This is the 7th warrant, day 2. Like, what are you doing out there? Like,
but wait, do you have, is your team, like on my team, I have dueling patrolmen. It's like, oh wait, he got 5 tickets and an arrest, so I got to get 10 tickets and 3 arrests. And it's like, yo, with me. And at my agency, we have 2. We're supposed to have 3 to a shift. We're getting closer to fully staffed post COVID, but you know, being understaffed is part of the game. But we call, take, and we dispatch simultaneously.
Yeah,
and we have a jail.
Whoa.
So we're certified jailers, but so we've got 3 things going on, plus people trying to bond people out of jail. So there's this doorbell that goes off occasionally in the middle of your radio traffic, and it's like ding dong, like it's straight up 70s sitcom show doorbell.
That's excellent.
And you're like, radio, you know, I asked you for a return. And I'm like, the last time I keyed up, did you not hear the phone ringing and the doorbell going?
Yeah.
I'm not getting a delivery. It's like we crazy busy over here. And there's another officer out with you. There's 2 of y'all. Somebody can use their KDT and run that person.
Right, go ahead and run that out. Yeah.
Help me help you.
Yeah.
Like if it's just you, then I'm gonna do everything I can do to take care of you. Yeah. But if it's 2 or 3 of y'all out there, I'm like, yo, like, let your fingers do the walking.
That is one thing I had to learn, like, at my agency, my new agency, is because we're smaller. You know, we're 3 person operation, 4 on a good day. We're getting there. But most of the time, it's 2, right? And so I'm working radio, my partner's working phones, and we get, let's say, a vehicle accident. Like, that's, you know, 911, 911, 911. Now I'm trying to get folks rolling that way, trying to answer calls to help my partner. And then the officer's like, oh, can I run out 5? I'm just like, stand by. Like, you know, like,
hold what you got.
Read the room.
It's gonna be a minute.
You know, I had an incident where we had a really big vehicle accident come out, and my officer, it was a trading car, so they were all there, like, you know, and they were running out 5. So I started running them out. We were going through them. And then all of a sudden, my other officer on-viewed the vehicle accident. And I was like, FYI, your returns are going to be delayed. And I just start like sitting on.
Why is there always one person who wants to do a traffic stop so they don't have to go and direct traffic or take a report or do a supplemental? And you're like, yo, everybody's over here. Either go over here with everybody else, or I want you to float through the city. But why are you going to do a traffic stop? And it's not so much I don't want you to do the traffic stop. You don't have any backup.
Yeah.
If you're on zone D doing a traffic stop and 8 other officers are on a 4-car pileup with injuries, and you do a traffic stop and it's code 4, who's got your back?
Yeah. Yeah, and I definitely think, you know, for all the many officers who are listening to this podcast, you know, hello, we love you guys.
We do.
But I definitely think can be a disconnect that there's only me and this other person, especially in these smaller agencies, in the room. So if you're asking 6,000 questions on a hot call where we're getting multiple callers calling in, I will tell you if I have it. I promise. I'm not keeping secrets. I will let you know. But no, dispatch is fielding all the calls with 2 people, running out all the folks, trying to get the history of the address, you know, all the things while working the radio and answering multiple 911 lines.
If I don't say it, it's not because I didn't ask. It's because I couldn't get it. I have actually had people say, why do you have to write a dissertation when you take a call? Because I want you to know that I got every possible piece of information for you that I could. So if I tell you I got a 41, which is an accident for us, but I got a 41 with 3 cars. I give you descriptions on all of them. I've got an injured party. I tell you what car they're in. Don't come back and ask me if I have a bus rolling. Like, don't do that, dude. If I tell you it's an accident with injuries, I got your bus. I got 20 years in the game. I got your bus coming. Don't ask me. Or
confirming fires en route.
Yeah. No, I just took a fully involved department fire, and I didn't transfer it to FD because I've been doing this for 20 days, not 20 years.
Like, right? Just yeah. Sometimes they do ask some questions. I'm just like,
did you think? Like,
or I just said that, or like,
no,
I just said that. Let me repeat it.
Dispatcher shenanigans. The other day, they posted something about the officers standing next to each other and asking and saying the same thing. And I'm like, yo, y'all are in close proximity to each other. Did you just not hear the radio reverb in your ear of your partner asking me for the return?
Yeah, that is something I dog my officers out about a bit. I'm just like, you guys would be like, fire is on scene, and then 2 seconds later, fire's on scene.
Fire's on scene. Duh, I'm clear. So I just put clear the fire's on scene for the second time. You know, I'm in the notes getting in trouble on a regular basis. Sorry, Kat. I'm sorry, Kat, but I am.
Oh my gosh. Well, what advice would you give someone who is considering a career in dispatch?
Be honest with yourself. This is I'm straight, no chaser. This is one of the most thankless jobs in some aspects that you will ever work. If you're a super family oriented person, don't sign up for this gig because the money sounds good and you watched 911 Crisis Center on Lifetime or whatever channel it comes on, because I haven't had Thanksgiving off in 6 years. Real talk. My shift is assigned to Thanksgiving. That's my day. I know it's my day. My husband knows not to ask me to take it off because that's my day. We work that Thursday. We've always worked that Thursday. I'm going to go to work. Hopefully next year we'll have 3 people and I'll take the day off. But right now, if I take the day off, someone else has to give their day off that they're owed for me to be off of my family. Thankfully, you know, Christmas and New Year's, they work through the year. So I kind of sit back and wait. But be honest with yourself. If you're family oriented, if you want to hang out on 4th of July, because 4th of July is a mandatory work day for us, because our city puts on fireworks and stuff. Be honest with who you are. $25 an hour, $32 an hour, whatever their starting pay is, sounds amazing until you've got to sacrifice that holiday. And everybody doesn't do, you know, time and a half for holidays or, you know, any type of extra added benefits for working a holiday. So be honest. If you know that working New Year's Eve is not your jam because you like to party with your friends, don't sign up for this job. This job is not for the faint of heart. Hopefully you'll work for an agency where you build amazing relationships and you'll have a battle buddy, but we don't close. If there's snow on the ground, I mean, y'all don't really have snow in Cali, but if there's snow on the ground, you're going to work. If it's a hurricane, you're going to work. But they're going to come get you or they're going to put you up in a, you know, I mean, y'all saw on the news, 2014, we had snowpocalypse in Atlanta and it was serious. People were stranded. Look it up.
Wow.
People were stranded on the interstate for 6 and 7 hours because we actually had a real snowstorm and we weren't prepared because we never really have snow like that. This is not Wisconsin.
Global warming. Real guys.
They called us and was like, yo, go ahead and bring 2 days of clothes because you got to answer the calls.
Yeah.
You know, and so I luckily live close enough where an officer brought me home, came back, picked me up the next day, but some people had to stay in the hotel. You're going to make a lot of sacrifices. This is a rewarding job, but it's a thankless job. You also need to be honest with yourself about your sensitivity. What can you emotionally withstand? Are you going to be able to sit on the phone and unfortunately hear a domestic violence call? Are you going to be able to sit on the phone with a small child and make the connection, bridge the gap when they're trying to tell you that something bad has happened to mommy or daddy or, you know, grandma or grandpa? Are you, you know, going to be able to move on to the next call? Because a lot of times you don't get a moment to step away when bad stuff happens. And they don't tell you this. They didn't tell me this in training. They didn't say, hey, you might take a domestic violence call and it's going to be the worst call of your life. And then you're going to hang up the phone and you're going to, have to pick up the next call because the phone is steadily ringing. I mean, we've had a trifecta before. We've, had a suicide, an armed robbery with gunshots, and a motor vehicle accident all at the same time. 2 dispatchers on the floor. Dispatcher listened to a person take their life and couldn't step away because the phones kept ringing. You've gotta move on. Be honest with yourself. It's not going to be like TV. There's going to be some trauma, and you've got to have a toolbox to mitigate your resilience, to mitigate your emotions, to be able to push through to fight another day. And don't be afraid to find other dispatchers. Find you a battle buddy. Your battle buddy may not be at your agency. Your battle buddy might be someone that you end up following on social media, because let me tell you, once you get into first responder land, people start sending you videos. Is it like this? Is it like that? I mean, there was a video that went viral last year of the guy that was pretending to be an Atlanta 911 operator. And I think it got sent to me 20 times about that guy. And that guy is not even an operator. It was just something funny. And yeah, it's kind of funny. And then it's kind of like, nah, we really don't act like that, but whatever. Cool. But, I remember, I think Ricardo of Within the Trenches is one of the first people I started following on Twitter when it came to first responder land. And I've found other dispatchers and other officers through cop Twitter that I've never met in real life, but it's really cool. Like when I'm having a moment, I've got a homegirl in Ohio that I'm like, hey, can I bend your ear for a second? I don't want to take this home, or I don't want to share it with anybody here. Can I share it with you? But it takes a special person to do what we do. Money is great, but let me tell you, some days you're going to kick 7 or 8 days in a row, forced overtime, get knocked down the block. You think you're off and you're low on the totem pole, and you got to get your stripes just like everybody else. And form your own opinions. Don't let the salty dispatcher, don't let the mean girls. If this is meant for you, if this is truly what you want to do, find your place in the agency. If the agency is so toxic that you can't find your place, then you might have to look somewhere else. But I think it speaks volumes that I've been somewhere for almost 20 years, and it hasn't always been easy. I'm thankful to say that I've been able to withstand a lot of the trauma of being in a center, because every center is going to have the components. They're going to have the cool kids. They're going to have the mean girls. They're going to have the salty old dispatcher. You're going to have a holster sniffer. Like, those are all components of our community.
I don't think I've heard it described that way before. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. That's my gift to all of you, is holster sniffer. Other people call them badge bunnies. I call them holster sniffer.
I like holster sniffer better. I think that'll be.
You know what? A holster sniffer is not always about adult relations. Sometimes a holster sniffer is somebody who's a security officer who keeps coming to do ride-alongs to get that adrenaline push, but doesn't really want the responsibility of being an officer.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, there's different levels of holster sniffing. I mean, I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
But if it's meant for you, find your place in the agency. You know what you're willing to take, to put up with, and look at management. Management is a great sign of what you're signing up for. It really is. If you see that management is not where you think it might need to be, I think if you're over 25, you have a general idea of how a manager is supposed to talk to subordinates. If your manager doesn't get in the trenches with you and work, during COVID, our manager was amazing. Our manager took shifts, was working 5 and 6 days like we were. That made my appreciation for them go way high. We're all tired, we're all stressed, but for almost 2 years, she wasn't in her office. That's like a huge kudos to me, that she was willing, instead of saying, hey, you need to grab all these shifts, her name was on the overtime board. She was putting in the work, not just, they say when you point, you got 3 fingers pointing back at yourself. But on this particular thing, it was like she was in it with us and dedicated to the cause when the world stopped on March 13th, 2020.
Yeah.
So look at those things and don't give up. If it's not working with a trainer, and when I say it's not working, be honest. Is it you? Is it them? Or is it both of you? Because sometimes it's communication. When you come in and you have no idea, and even when you do have an idea, if you're used to doing it X way, you leave X agency and you go to Y agency, you got to learn how to do it Y way. It doesn't matter whether I have 20 years of experience or 20 hours of experience. If I'm not at X anymore and I go to Y, I got to learn it the Y way. And then once I get through probation, I can add the X ways into the Y ways to make it work. But you've got to be receptive because we all can learn something. We all, like, the thing that I've learned during COVID is Nina has so many amazing classes. I've perfected some of my skill set during COVID because of the online live learning opportunities that Nina has presented because we couldn't meet in real life. So you've got to be willing to realize that no matter how much experience you have, there's always an opportunity to learn. So if you really want to do this, know that you're always learning. Know that sometimes the agency is not going to be able to fund you in your learning. So sign up for one of those overtime shifts so you can pay for a Nina class. You can, pay for whatever class that you can get a hold to. Find you a battle buddy. Like, I think a battle buddy is important. I think, I don't know how I made it for 15 years without one. I'll be honest. But like I said, things have changed. When I started dispatching, we didn't have Instagram. We didn't have Twitter. We didn't have all these ways, Facebook, to connect with other people. We've got your podcast. We've got Tracy's 911 first. There's so many pieces of the puzzle that we can pull, while we're on duty. Like, there are times when I'm listening to Within the Trenches on Thursday night when I'm on duty, if we're the word that we don't say when we're on duty. But I'll listen and, tap in real quick, say, hey, listen to Ricardo in his laugh and, listen to other dispatchers with great stories, because sometimes I've had a hard call at the beginning of the shift. And by the time he comes on at 8 or 9 o'clock, that, he always does a status check. How are you feeling at the beginning of the podcast? And then how are you feeling at the end of the podcast? Sometimes I'll, pop in and I'm at a 4. And by the time, he gets to the end of the podcast, I'm like at an 8 because something has ended up in the word cloud, or, somebody had a call where people were throwing cats and I'm on the floor up under my desk. Like, it just, if it's meant for you, it's meant for you. Just form your own opinions, because in the dispatch center, I may not like Ashley, and Ashley's an amazing dispatcher, but I don't like Ashley because Ashley parked in my space one day. And so I tell you not to like Ashley because I don't like Ashley. It's not to like Ashley, and especially if it's over a parking space. But I mean,
hey, I got a new car, it needs front row now. It's not,
wait, did you name her?
I haven't named her. I haven't found it yet. I have not found.
What are you waiting on?
I needed to speak to me. I needed to come. And I haven't found it yet. I'll
check back with you in a week.
I'm still working her. I'm still, getting used to her.
And another thing, okay, my last pro tip for dispatchers. Once you get hired by an agency, start learning the city. Because let me tell you, one of the things that makes me a great dispatcher is my common knowledge of landmarks. Somebody may not be able to tell you what street they're on because they use GPS or Wave or whatever they use. But you ask them, hey, if you're on Peachtree Road, because everything's named Peachtree in Atlanta, if you're on Peachtree Road, is the fox on the driver's side of your car or the passenger side of your car? Little stuff like that. Is your driver's side the left or is your driver's side the right? Like, little things, landmarks are your friend. I was able to successfully find somebody because they told me, because this is who I am. They said, hey, there is a CDC billboard that has Zombieland on it. New Peachtree Road. Okay, cool.
Okay, got you.
Because in my city, there was only one of those billboards. I love it because I love zombie movies. And when they said I can see a Zombieland billboard, boom, I knew where they were. No one else could figure out where they were. They couldn't find a street sign, and where they were, there was no street signs, and it was all factories. So it was nothing that really stood out to help us find them. But once they said they saw a Zombieland sign, I was like, yo. So do yourself a favor. The best way to be an amazing dispatcher is to know what's in the agency, whether it's city, whether it's county. I feel like I'm proficient enough. If I wanted to go work for the county that I live in, I could probably hang tight for the most part, because I know the north and the center. I know most of the south, but not all of the south. But I would be able to hang tight if I had to, working for that agency, because I'm always looking. My head's always on swivel when I drive. I'm always looking for the little things. Where's the Chinatown? Where's the museum? Where's the this? Anything I can use to help, find you when you need me. That's what I do.
That's awesome. Tangent. Did you see, I don't know, maybe you don't know, The Last of Us, the video game that they're making? Are you familiar with that game?
No, what is that?
It's a zombie game. It's like a post-apocalypse game, and they're making it into a TV show.
Shut up.
It's called The Last of Us. You should Google it. It's such an awesome game.
Okay.
I don't know if you game at all, but PS4, it's on PS4.
I used to, but I have children.
Well, you family time. Everybody could watch you game. But they're making it into a movie or a TV show.
Okay.
With like the zombie post-apocalypse vibe, and it's based off the game. So,
okay. So you like zombies?
Oh yeah.
So have you read the Rotten Ruin series by Jonathan Mayberry?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you need to read that.
You
need to read Rotten Ruin, Max Brailer's Last Kids on Earth, which is from the kids' perspective of zombie apocalypse. Rotten Ruin is also young adult zombies. Then Jonathan Mayberry has the whole Joe Ledger series, the first 2 or 3 books. Like, I'm zombie aficionado. I'm the land of the Walking Dead.
Have you heard of the podcast The Last of Us?
Like, I'm very limited on my podcasts because I'm an Audible book listener because I don't have time to turn pages. So I like Audible is my happy place.
Okay. So we're gonna chat offline real quick. So I'm in this, so they don't have to listen to us ramble about this nonsense. But thank you so much for coming out, and it's honestly really refreshing, like for folks who have been doing this for so long, just to see you have this energy about you and this.
Thanks.
Light about you.
I have moments. I mean, we all have moments, but I don't know. Like I said, I had a hype meeting at work today before we got online, so that was like super awesome because some of the things I'm looking for are coming to fruition. And that's another thing. Be willing to fall on your sword for what's important. Peer support is important. Training is important. Officers go to the range. We also need ammunition in our clip. The ammunition is training, and it's more than just the free training that your state provides. Ask your agency to invest in you as an operator to get what you need. So it's like I have ebbs and flows. Today is like one of the most amazing ebbs I've had this month.
I like the timing. It all works out, right? It all works out.
I mean, honestly, I'm here for another 10. God willing, and nothing horrible happens on my watch. And my heart, when I say I think about the operators in Uvalde, I think about the operators in Virginia this week after what happened. Like, I think about them and I keep them in my thoughts and in my prayers on a regular basis because I've had rough calls, not as rough as that, but I've had rough calls, and it's hard for us to do what we do and keep going, into our shift because you can't always get to that quiet room because you got to keep pushing. So, all of us just stay strong, get you a battle buddy or, find somebody on social media, annoy them until they love you.
Or until they invite you onto the podcast.
Until they invite you onto a podcast. And keep pushing. But to the new people, don't be afraid. I mean, I'm proof that you can do it because I am known for a Post-it note on my desk. I'm out, and I've been here for 18 years.
Hey, just another 10 more to go.
Right.
Saving lives every day, right? That's how we
Trying to.
All right, I'll be right back with you.
Okay.
A wonderful episode here at Let's Talk Dispatch. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in and, continuing to subscribe, run it up on YouTube, on our podcast. Thank you, Gudrun, for the coming on and just, it's always good to talk to folks in this line of work and just be able to feed off of their energy when it's so positive. So thank you for that. And of course, until next time, everybody, stay raspy. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Let's Talk Dispatch. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube at The Raspy Dispatcher, follow us on Instagram, and check out Let's Talk Dispatch anywhere you listen to podcasts. I'll see you next time, and stay raspy.